Eight is Enough was not only a television series about a large family in the 1970s America, but also a story about how family bonds can heal every loss. But when the cameras stopped rolling, that magic disappeared. Many cast members passed away after long illnesses. Some died because of addiction, and others left this world quietly, almost unnoticed. What really happened to them behind the scenes after those days? Let us explore their real lives and honor the legacies they left behind. Dick Van Patten as Tom Bradford. Dick Van Patten was born on December 9, 1928, in Queens, New York. At 48 years old, he played Tom Bradford, the calm, widowed father carrying the weight of a large family amid life's upheavals in Eight is Enough in 1977. That devoted father figure quickly became an icon of American television. Yet behind the warmth on screen was a life under constant, quiet pressure from Hollywood. His more than 60-year marriage to Patricia Poole never collapsed, but it was never easy either. When Eight is Enough pushed Van Patten to the peak of fame in middle age, relentless work kept him away from home, living more on sets than with his family. Patricia, a former Broadway dancer, had to accept sharing her husband with filming schedules, the media, and subsequent roles such as High Anxiety and later Spaceballs. Van Patten once admitted that Hollywood did not destroy his marriage, but it kept the relationship permanently stretched thin. Alongside family pressure was a long battle with illness. Dick Van Patten lived with type 2 diabetes for decades, a condition that forced him to work while silently managing his health. A stroke in 2006 became a serious turning point, making him confront the cost of never slowing down. Although he recovered and continued to appear in public, his body gradually weakened. He ultimately passed away on June 23, 2015, in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 86, due to complications from diabetes. Dick Van Patten was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Hollywood Hills. His estimated net worth of around $5 million came from more than 7 decades of acting and the co-founding of Natural Balance Pet Foods, closing the life of a man who devoted his entire career to caring for families, both on screen and off. Lonnie O'Grady as Mary Bradford. Lonnie O'Grady was born on October 2, 1954 in Walnut Creek, California. In 1977, at 23 years old, she played Mary Bradford, the intelligent and mature daughter who often served as the emotional anchor of the Bradford family in Eight is Enough. On screen, Mary was calm and strong amid chaos. In real life, Lonnie entered a deeply painful journey. During the peak of her career, her marriage quickly fell into tension. She married Jim O'Grady, an entertainment industry manager, but the relationship soon fractured under the weight of fame and expectations. When Eight is Enough ended, being repeatedly typecast as Mary Bradford made it difficult for Lonnie to find a new path. Professional disappointment seeped into her marriage, pushing the couple further apart and ultimately leading to divorce, leaving Lonnie isolated and adrift. Alongside emotional collapse came a long struggle with mental illness. From the age of 18, Lonnie suffered from panic disorder, which developed into agoraphobia and episodes of temporary memory loss. To maintain daily life, she gradually became dependent on Valium, Vicodin, Prozac, and alcohol. In 1998, her hospitalization for rehabilitation showed that the situation had spiraled beyond control. Tragically, Lonnie O'Grady passed away on September 25, 2001, in Valencia, California, at the age of 46, due to a multi-drug overdose. Her estimated net worth of around $500,000 reflects a career that began early, but was steadily eroded by marital strain, illness, and psychological fractures that Hollywood never healed. Adam Rich as Nicholas Bradford. Adam Rich was born on October 12, 1968 in Brooklyn, New York. At just 8 years old, he played Nicholas Bradford, the quick-witted and mischievous youngest son whose bowl-cut hairstyle became a mass culture icon in Eight is Enough in 1977. The image of America's little brother made Adam beloved nationwide. But fame came too early and placed a weight on his shoulders that no child could carry. His teenage years were torn apart by crushing expectations, adult control, and the feeling of being trapped forever in the image of Nicholas Bradford. After leaving Eight is Enough, despite continued appearances in Code Red and voice work as Presto in Dungeons & Dragons, Adam became increasingly lost, unable to find a new role or emotional anchor. Soon after, he fell into a prolonged psychological breakdown. Severe depression, substance abuse, and prescription drug addiction became an inescapable spiral, beginning with experimenting with marijuana at age 14, dropping out of school at 17, and nearly dying from a Valium overdose in 1989. Arrests for theft and DUI were only the visible surface of an internal battle that lasted for decades. Ultimately, Adam Rich passed away on January 7, 2023, in Los Angeles, at the age of 54, due to an accidental fentanyl overdose. His net worth was estimated at around $1 million, accumulated from his childhood acting legacy and sporadic work later in life. Diana Hyland, as Joan Bradford. Diana Hyland was born on January 25, 1936, in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. In 1977, at 41 years old, she played Joan Bradford, the gentle mother and emotional foundation of the Bradford family in Eight is Enough. Although her screen time was brief, Joan became the spiritual heart of the series. Few knew that this would be her final role. Diana's marriage to Joe Goodson began in 1969 and ended in 1974, leaving her with one son and a lingering sense of incompleteness. After that breakup, she found a late but deeply meaningful love with John Travolta, who was 18 years younger, after the two co-starred in The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. This relationship brought Diana rare tenderness and hope, though it was always overshadowed by an unspoken fear. Illness quietly governed every decision in the final chapter of Diana Hyland's life. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1975 and underwent surgery and chemotherapy, but the disease quickly spread. By the time she joined Eight is Enough, she was filming in a severely weakened state, striving to preserve warmth on screen while her body gradually gave out. In her final days, Diana lived between the love she shared with Travolta and the pain of knowing her career would be permanently cut short. Tragically, Diana Hyland passed away on March 27, 1977, in Los Angeles at the age of 41 from metastatic breast cancer in John Travolta's arms. Her estimated net worth was around $2 million, accumulated from stage and television work, becoming the quiet legacy of a woman who gave both her love and her life to art. Michael Toma, as Dr. Greg Maxwell. Michael Toma was born on December 4, 1926, in Detroit, Michigan. At 51 years old, he played Dr. Greg Maxwell, the calm and wise family physician who often appeared as the voice of reason amid the Bradford family's crises in Eight is Enough in 1977. His character was not loud, but conveyed a sense of safety and reliability. That image also reflected who he was in real life: quiet, disciplined, and devoted. He married 3 times, to Rosemary Prince, Marilyn Johnson, and then Lynn Bennett. But none of the marriages lasted fully amid his constant movement between theater and television. During the years he was involved with Eight is Enough, he continued to immerse himself in teaching and directing stage productions, such as Bye Bye Birdie, while also appearing on television in the streets of San Francisco. His demanding schedule and professional obsession pushed his private life into the background, and relationships gradually faded into silence rather than open conflict. Illness arrived as the final blow. Michael Toma was diagnosed with cancer and fought it for nearly 2 years, still striving to maintain his teaching duties at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and taking part in the Project Fame, 1982, in the role of a teacher. but his body quickly weakened. The quiet battle with illness forced him to withdraw, living reclusively in his final months, separated from the spotlight he had served all his life. He passed away on September 3, 1982, in Los Angeles, at the age of 55, due to cancer. His net worth was estimated at around $800,000, accumulated from acting, directing, and many years of teaching. Michael Toma departed the way he lived, quietly, seriously, and leaving a deep mark on his profession rather than in headlines. Don Matheson as Robert Decker. Don Matheson was born on August 5, 1929, in Dearborn, Michigan. In 1977, at 48 years old, he appeared in Eight is Enough as Robert Decker, a reliable friend of the Bradford family, rarely seen, but always present at the right moment. The role reflected his familiar image on television. By that time, he had already passed through many turning points in his life. Don's first marriage to actress Deanna Lund began in 1970 and ended about a decade later. Relentless shooting schedules and prolonged distance wore the relationship down, leaving him with a sense of loss just as his career was shifting toward supporting roles. During those years, he continued to work tirelessly, from Land of the Giants to recurring roles on General Hospital and Falcon Crest, as if work were the only way to maintain balance. His second marriage to Maxine Arnold was more stable, yet Don never truly escaped the pressure of an actor who had once been on the front line now having to accept a step back. Illness was the heavy consequence of years of lifestyle choices. Don Matheson developed lung cancer, a disease linked to his long-standing smoking habit since youth. Although he still appeared sporadically in public, his health declined noticeably, forcing him to withdraw from work. Don Matheson passed away on June 29, 2014, in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 84, due to lung cancer. His net worth was estimated at around $1.5 million, derived from decades of acting and the financial foundation he had accumulated earlier in life. Dennis Patrick as Harry Mitchell. Dennis Patrick was born on March 14, 1918, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At 59 years old, he played Harry Mitchell, an older, wise, and experienced friend who often appeared to offer clear-headed advice to Tom Bradford in Eight is Enough in 1977. His character was never at the center, yet always carried a sense of trust and depth. That image closely mirrored Patrick himself in real life. He married actress Barbara Kaysen in 1970, and together they worked within the unforgiving world of television, where Patrick almost never stopped. With more than 4 decades spent tirelessly playing guest roles, from Dark Shadows to Dallas, he lived in a constant state of movement between sets, stages, and television studios, gradually narrowing his family life. After Barbara passed away in 1990, Patrick became even more withdrawn, choosing to distance himself from bustling Hollywood and live more reclusively in his final years. The prolonged pressure of work also left a heavy mark on his health. Dennis Patrick developed cancer and required dialysis, which meant he rarely left his home. His body weakened rapidly, while his mind remained haunted by a lifetime of relentless work. The accumulated exhaustion of thousands of roles, combined with illness in old age, caused his final years to pass quietly. Dennis Patrick died on October 13, 2002, in Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles, at the age of 84, in a house fire that led to smoke inhalation while he was already seriously ill. He was found beside his beloved poodle. His net worth was estimated at around $2 million, accumulated from an extensive television career spanning more than 4 decades, closing the life of a quiet supporting actor who was nevertheless everywhere on American screens. James Karen as Elliot Randolph. James Karen was born on November 28, 1923, in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. In 1977, at 54 years old, he appeared in Eight is Enough as Elliot Randolph, Tom Bradford's practical but not entirely cold-hearted boss. The character represented workplace pressure and the world beyond the family. It became one of Karen's most recognizable television roles. James Caron's marital life went through several stages. His first marriage to singer-actress Susan Reed ended in 1967, leaving him with a son and lingering emotional echoes. He later remarried Alba Francesca, who accompanied him through the long remainder of his life. Although his family life became more stable, Caron faced a different kind of strain, being typecast in supporting roles and as the familiar face of Pathmark commercials. Age and decades of intense work gradually affected his health. In his later years, James Caron struggled with respiratory and cardiac problems, which led him to reduce his public appearances. Even so, he continued accepting small roles and appearing in films until near the end of his life. James Caron passed away on October 23, 2018 in Los Angeles, at the age of 94, from cardiac arrest following respiratory failure. His net worth was estimated at around $3 million, earned from hundreds of film and television roles and many decades as a nationally recognized advertising figure. Louise Latham as Catherine Mitchell. Louise Latham was born on September 23, 1922, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. At 55 years old, she played Catherine Mitchell, the elegant grandmother who carried the poise and life experience of an older generation in 8 is Enough in 1977. Her character appeared only occasionally, but left behind a sense of calm and strong moral standards. This image closely reflected Louise's real-life personality. She married Raymond Pittman and later television producer Paul Picard, but both marriages ended quietly. Despite the emotional pain, Louise continued to work tirelessly, appearing in projects such as Designing Women as the sharp-tongued Mother Perky, along with a steady stream of television roles, as if work itself were her only refuge. In her final years, illness did not arrive as a sudden shock, but rather as the gradual decline of old age. Louise lived in a state of quiet withdrawal, stepping away from film sets after decades of playing supporting roles that required psychological depth. Louise Latham passed away on February 12, 2018, in Montecito, California, at the age of 95 from natural causes related to old age. Her estimated net worth was around $1 million, accumulated through many decades of work in theater, film, and television. Virginia Vincent as Daisy Maxwell. Virginia Vincent was born on May 3, 1918, in Goshen, New York. In 1977, at 59 years old, she appeared in 8 is Enough as Daisy Maxwell, a kind and simple relative who served as a gentle emotional anchor for the Bradford family. Her character was not dramatic, but conveyed a sense of warmth and everyday familiarity. This approach was consistent with Virginia's acting style throughout her career. Virginia Vincent's marital life went through several quiet breakdowns. She was married to Jack Vincent and later to Frank London, but both relationships ended in divorce. While her personal life lacked stability, Virginia continued to appear regularly on screen, from The Untouchables to her haunting role in The Hills Have Eyes. Constant work allowed her to maintain independence, but also led her to choose a private life, distanced from the noise of Hollywood. Virginia's health did not collapse suddenly, but the accumulated effects of professional injuries and years of intense work left their mark. She lived quietly in her later years, withdrawing from acting when her body could no longer endure demanding shooting schedules. Virginia Vincent passed away on October 3, 2013, in San Diego, California, at the age of 95 from natural causes. Her estimated net worth was around $800,000, earned from more than 50 years of work in television and film acting. Joan Tompkins as Mary. Joan Tompkins was born on July 9, 1915, in New York City. In 1977, at 62 years old, she appeared in 8 is Enough as Mary, the calm and wise grandmother who represented an older generation defined by enduring and steady values. Although her character appeared infrequently, she consistently provided a sense of emotional anchoring for the Bradford family. This was the kind of role Tompkins had spent her entire life perfecting. Joan Tompkins's marital life was relatively more stable than that of many of her contemporaries. Her first marriage to Stephen Kerr Appleby ended during wartime, leaving her with a lasting lesson about the fragility of private life when art is always placed first. She later married actor Carl Swenson, who became her partner not only in marriage but also in building an independent life in the theater. During those years, Joan remained devoted to stage work, from Pride and Prejudice on Broadway to carefully selected television roles such as Murder, She Wrote, maintaining a rare balance between career and family. In her later years, she withdrew from the spotlight, living quietly and devoting time to her personal life after decades of steady work on stage and television. Joan Tompkins passed away on January 29, 2005, at the age of 89 from natural causes. Her estimated net worth was around $700,000 accumulated from her work on Broadway and television. She departed quietly, much like the demeanor of the roles that had defined her career. Susan Richardson as Susan Bradford. Susan Richardson was born on March 11, 1952, in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. In 1977, at 25 years old, she played Susan Bradford, the artistic and strong-willed daughter who constantly sought freedom and self-definition in 8 is Enough. Susan was one of the central characters of the Bradford family, representing a younger generation filled with inner conflict. In real life, however, Richardson's path quickly took a very different direction. Her marriage to Michael Verdon began in 1978, at the height of her career, but soon became an overwhelming source of pressure. Pregnancy and a weight gain of nearly 40 kilograms triggered a fear of losing roles, pushing her toward cocaine use in an attempt to lose weight. While she continued to appear on programs such as Fantasy Island, her family life gradually collapsed under addiction, financial strain, and a growing sense of being abandoned by the industry. After her fame faded, illness followed one after another. Susan Richardson developed diabetes and suffered 3 minor strokes, along with severe digestive disorders that caused tooth loss and extreme physical exhaustion. Her erratic statements in the late 1980s, including claims of being kidnapped abroad, revealed that her mental health had deteriorated beyond control. By 2025, Susan Richardson was 73 years old, living reclusively in Pennsylvania, far removed from the Hollywood she was once an integral part of. Her estimated net worth was only around $100,000, derived mainly from disability benefits and what remained of her former career. Willie Ames as Tommy Bradford. Willie Ames was born on July 15, 1960, in Newport Beach, California. In 1977, at 17 years old, he appeared in 8 is Enough as Tommy Bradford, the rebellious and impulsive son who constantly stood on the thin line between fame and losing his way. That character reflected a part of who he was in real life. Success came too early and pulled him into a spiral that was difficult to control. His first marriage to Vicki Weatherman began in 1979, right as his fame was rising, but quickly collapsed when Willie sank deeply into a lifestyle of partying, alcohol, and drugs after the series ended. Although he remained famous through Charles in Charge and voice work for Dungeons & Dragons, his personal life became increasingly chaotic. His second marriage to Malo McCaslin brought only brief stability, as bankruptcy, financial pressure, and depression caused him to lose everything, at one point even becoming homeless and sleeping under bushes. Willie's illness did not take physical form, but rather manifested as long-term addiction to alcohol and substances. He later admitted to self-harm, driven by guilt, and living in profound psychological crisis. Only after hitting rock bottom multiple times did Willie commit seriously to recovery, maintaining sobriety for many consecutive years. By 2025, Willie Ames was 65 years old, living sober, and working as a recovery support coach, sharing his own experiences to help others avoid repeating his past mistakes. His estimated net worth was around $500,000, derived from books, production work, and later projects. Connie Needham as Elizabeth Bradford. Connie Needham was born on December 5, 1959 in Anaheim, California. In 1977, at 17 years old, she joined 8 is Enough as Elizabeth Bradford, the emotionally rich artistic daughter who constantly longed to express herself. Elizabeth brought brightness to the Bradford family. But Connie soon realized that the television spotlight was not a permanent refuge. She married David Needham in 1979 during the filming of the series, and the marriage lasted more than 25 years, producing 2 daughters. However, growing up under public scrutiny gradually led Connie to step away from acting to protect her family life. Although she continued to appear in projects such as Fame, she chose to shift toward teaching dance, a decision that helped her maintain balance, but also marked the early end of a television career full of promise. The marriage ultimately ended in 2005, leaving Connie with a quieter life, though not without lingering reflection. Illness struck unexpectedly in 2009 when Connie was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. This period forced her to confront a genuine fear of loss, far removed from the pressures of fame she had known before. After a long and grueling course of treatment, Connie made a full recovery. By 2025, Connie Needham was 66 years old, living healthily in California and continuing her work as a dance teacher, inspiring younger generations. Her estimated net worth was around $1 million, accumulated through acting, teaching, and creative projects. Betty Buckley as Abby Bradford. Betty Buckley was born on July 3, 1947, in Big Spring, Texas. In 1977, at 30 years old, she joined 8 is Enough as Abby Bradford, the intelligent, independent, and resilient stepmother who entered a family still wounded by loss. Abby was not merely a replacement, but became the new emotional anchor for the 8 children and Tom Bradford. This role marked a major turning point, moving Buckley from the stage into a deeper, more mature television image. In real life, however, Betty Buckley's marriage was not as stable as Abby appeared on screen. She married Peter Flood in 1972, but the marriage ended in 1979 as her career simultaneously surged on Broadway and television. Balancing 8 is Enough while immersing herself in the demanding world of theater gradually eroded her private life. The pressure did not come only from work, but also from personal loss. In 1990, the death of her mother delivered a heavy emotional blow to Buckley, at a time when she was struggling to maintain her peak position on the stage. A relentless Broadway performance schedule, demanding both physical and emotional endurance, pushed her repeatedly toward exhaustion. By 2025, Betty Buckley was 78 years old and still performing and singing, regarded as a living icon of Broadway. Her estimated net worth was around $4 million, accumulated from theater, film, and music. Abby Bradford taught audiences how to stand back up after loss. In real life, Betty Buckley has lived exactly that way for nearly half a century. They once gave audiences a sense of family, warmth, and safety every night on screen. But behind the lights, many members of 8 is Enough passed away amid illness, loneliness, addiction, and heartbreaking endings few ever expected. Which of their stories haunts you the most? And is early fame truly a gift or a curse? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring the tragic destinies hidden behind legendary television families.